And now, your official TigerBait live show with Mike Scarborough and Buddy Songy starts now.
All right, welcome in. I think we're going to have a real big show tonight here on July 4th Eve, or the eve of Independence Day. A lot of LSU football recruiting stuff happening, baseball recruiting. Even got a little bit of an update on men's basketball recruiting earlier today on the couple official visits they had last week. I was joking with Zach earlier. I said, don't these recruits know that we like to do things on the 4th just like everybody else? And a lot of kids expected to go down. And I think really what's happening is, and I've been saying it for weeks, is that LSU's been sitting with a dozen commitments, and it's usually LSU's in the 20-ish range, 21, 22 by Labor Day. And in order to get there, things need to start happening. And it looks like everybody's making a push for these guys, and not just LSU, everybody, to get their classes locked in before fall camps start and the season starts. And then that way they're not stressing about it and get back where they typically are. But of course, this show is brought to you by our title sponsor, Pride Roofing. And I got another big sponsor that I'm excited to talk about a little bit later in the show. But Zack Nagy's with me of LSU Country. And welcome in, Zack.
Appreciate you for having me. It's gonna be a good show. Got a lot of recruiting to talk about. Like Mike was saying before, I mean, July 4th is about to pop off. Just the whole weekend really is about to pop off like crazy with a couple of commitments, a couple of guys, gonna reveal their decision. So it's gonna be a good stretch for LSU fans.
Well, and one of the positions of need is where Bo Davis can really get some things solidified. Certainly got a 26 defensive tackle commitment. Been wondering where 25 is going to be. Zion Williams, hearing that that's been looking good for LSU. We've had a prediction for LSU for a while. I'm sure you feel the same.
Yeah, I placed one yesterday as well, just because this is a guy who's been trending our way for quite some time. TCU was in the mix really, really heavily, but I spoke with someone on the TCU front, and they also believe that LSU is the front runner here. So he commits tomorrow morning for hopefully LSU. Hopefully the good guys get him.
Yeah. And Brandon Brown, longtime Texas Longhorn from Florida. And that's been looking like LSU for a while also. Now, do you have a time on that? Because I have not got when that's going to happen. I mean, we're basically told a window of like 48 to 72 hours where that could be, but it's been kind of quiet as far as how he's going to do it and when he's going to do it.
I don't know if he said he's going to do it on like Instagram or post something on Twitter or anything, but I am pretty sure it's going to be on Friday, July 5th. I don't know if it's going to be in the evening or the morning, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be on the 5th at this point in time. But man, recruiting's so fluid. He might just pop tomorrow, and a couple other guys do too. So you just never know. Yeah.
And Damian Shanklin, another one, edge rusher that another prediction put in for LSU. By us at TigerBait, and Indianapolis, Indiana, Warren Central had a really strong official visit to LSU. You're talking about a 6'4", 230-pounder, and I think that one's also trending LSU.
Yeah, I'd agree with you as well. And I think that is kind of a true testament to the recruiting efforts that LSU edge coach or defensive ends coach Kevin Peoples has been doing. He's been really, really working hard on the recruiting trail, and he got his first guy to pop in Jesse Harold, top 10 edge in the country. Got him to pop last month, and now we're moving over to Damian Shanklin, and that's the number one player in Indiana. So to get him to pop would be a tremendous get for LSU, and LSU fans are going to know in the next 48 hours like the rest of us. But like you said, Mike, I'd agree with you there. When I log a prediction for somebody of his caliber, I think LSU's really, really trending for his services.
Everybody, please do me a favor. If you're enjoying the show, hit that like button. And as always, please share the show, link to the show on your social media. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do it. Hit the notification bell. We've got a lot coming your way. We're just weeks away from the start of the LSU football season. And SEC Media Day starts a week from Monday. Brian Kelly's first up on Monday. And so it's here. And the heat is certainly letting you know that it's here. Zach, just I guess about 30 minutes ago, DeCorian Moore is also going to go down on the 4th of July, 8 o'clock tomorrow night. And like you and I were discussing before we went live, of course, at one time he was a commitment to LSU and backed off of that, came in for a visit, This is really an NIL deal play here. And LSU, Texas, Oregon, Ohio State are the Final Four. None of my sources have had any buzz or any pop when it comes to Corey Moore re-up into LSU. So, I don't know how much Ohio State's in there, but it sure does look to me like it's either, if it ain't Texas, maybe it's Oregon.
Yeah, and I'd agree with you there. There hasn't been much buzz for LSU for Corey Moore, but I mean, this is the number one wide receiver in America. He's bound to get significant buzz. And Texas and Oregon appear to be the two finalists right now. And, he's just randomly popping on 4th of July that this is something that came out of nowhere. And he's fresh off of several official visits, LSU, Oregon, Texas, Ohio State. So this is a guy who, the top countries or the top programs in the country are battling out for his services. So I don't think tomorrow will be surprised. Texas and Oregon are the finalists. It'll be one of the two, and we'll see what happens from there. But it's going to be one that is a battle all the way to early signing day in December. You're going to see people piece together some impressive NIL packages in order to try to get him. But tomorrow he's going to shut things down, and we'll see what happens from there.
Hour before we went live, LSU got another baseball commitment, an outfielder, infielder, Southland Conference Newcomer of the Year. Talk about it.
Yeah, this is a consistent hitter that LSU's kind of been looking to add to the lineup with guys departing like Tommy White and most likely Jared Jones. You're going to have to try to get some consistent hitters in the lineup. And they did that with Luis Hernandez, but you really don't know if he's going to go pro yet. And Hernandez is the Indiana State transfer who's an absolute slugger. So you add him right now, but you just don't know if he's going to ultimately sign that pro contract. So for Jay Johnson, this recruiting staff, it's all about adding consistent hitting to the lineup. And you did that right there with Dalton Beck. So he was really impressive at Incarnate Word last season. He batted .377, 15 homers, 67 RBI. I mean, this is a guy who was an extremely impressive guy last season. Like you said, he's the Southland Newcomer Player of the Year. So it's a really impressive get. And Jay Johnson was battling for him. From people that I kind of spoke to a little bit about it, the Tennessee Volunteers were a program that were really, really after him. And Jay Johnson ultimately secured his services, and we go from here. So it'll be an impressive guy to get on campus this fall and then work him into the lineup in 2025.
Well, I know Jay Johnson, as we can see the results so far, Jay Johnson has done an amazing job in the portal. And I think A&M, on one hand, you can debate whether they did the right thing by hiring from within, but I think on the short term, it was the right hire because they were able to get all their transfer portal entry guys basically to come back. And I got word on Sunday morning that Jay was really close on Geographic and Sorrell, particularly Sorrell, could have secured a commitment there. Had they not hired from within and did something else, I think Jay Johnson might have had at least one or two of those Aggie players that were in the portal. So, but look, he's putting it together. I'm anxious to see once the draft is done, once he sees where what his high school haul finally looks like, and which of those guys let him know that they're going to be enrolled in August. But there's still some movement here that he could do in the portal.
Oh, absolutely. I think at this point in time, you must go. You have to get another infielder or two. You have to look to get another catcher. There's some guys that you have to attack right now, and left-handed pitching is also the utmost concern. So if you're kind of sitting back and asking me, the 3 to 4 areas that you really need to attack over the next couple of weeks, it's left-handed pitching, get a shortstop, third baseman, some infielders, and then attack, the catching position too. So there's some areas for improvement. There's some pieces that you need to add some depth to as well. So it's going to be a really important stretch for Jay Johnson. And look, man, he's been dominating the portal as it is right now with 9 commitments now after getting Dalton Beck. So look, you got to go out and get some more because the SEC is just getting stronger.
All right, let's dive into some questions here. Roger Ramjet's up first. Hey, Mike and Buddy. Of course, Buddy's on vacation. Zach filling in. Good to be with you as always. Enjoy the show. Blake Mesh, my good buddy, in the house, and he gives us a go. Going to talk about him a little bit later. Oreo Speedwagon does America. Go Tigers. Oreo Speedwagon. Let's go, says Black No Borders. And here we go. Chance Babbitt. Mark, are you and Kendall doing any more shows? We're actually doing one Friday. So between commitments and everything else, and where most people are off Friday, I'm actually doing our last batter up with Kendall Rogers on Friday. And so that should be an early afternoon on Friday. Be on the lookout for that. So, nobody's been on top of the transfer portal nationally and coaching movements and all that better than Kendall Rogers. Cole Adams says, love seeing Zach, my favorite. All right. Zach's got his big fan club. Yeah, Spectrum Well Care, DK Moore announcing tomorrow. Right now, we're not thinking that's LSU, but let's see how this plays out. Big Cojones, Keller, good evening, Mike, Zach, and TigerBaiters, BFFs. Here's a good one. Hal Jubin, Mike, what about the women's basketball team? Are they going to sign anyone else? What you hear, Zach?
Me. Yeah, I'll take that. No, the roster's pretty much set in stone at this point, and now you kind of shift focus to that 2025 class. They were after a JUCO player and somebody overseas, but they decided to stay put and move on for the rest of the season. So look, this roster's set in stone, and you could ask a couple people. They really think that this is one of the more talented rosters that Kim Mulkey's had over her time in college ball. So I'm excited to see where it goes from here. Obviously, it's a broad statement saying it's one of her best teams that she's had in recent years, but just from top to bottom, a lot of people are excited for what this team brings.
Yeah, and I think I can't remember the dates, but they're maybe a week or so away from 2 weeks in Greece. The whole team's going overseas, and that's going to be real interesting. I don't know what kind of coverage we're going to get from that or any footage. They're going to have a lot of rest and relaxation and having fun viewing the sites, but they're also going to get some basketball in, I guess.
Yeah, those trips are kind of swept under the rug a little bit sometimes. I know a lot of people look at them as vacations and whatnot, and yeah, they are vacations where you're getting in just a little bit of basketball, but these are huge, huge trips just to build camaraderie with the program and the new team, and it gives them an opportunity to mesh really well. So it's going to be a really important trip for this program, and to fresh-faced roster. You got a lot of newbies on the team, so it's going to be important to get some chemistry together and on the court and off the court.
Well, I was laughing talking to an LSU staffer a while back. I said, man, some of these late newcomers and do they get to go to Greece? Yes. Well, you better hurry up and make sure that they've all got their passports. If not, you better get moving. But you're right. That is a good camaraderie and team building exercise. And certainly they've got to get some basketball in to justify it. But that's not a cheap trip by any imagination.
No, dude, not at all. That's a place that I've been wanting to go forever. I would love to go check out Greece. Yeah. So I've been looking at those costs. That's a pretty expensive trip. So
I need to get to Greece. I need to get to Italy and New Zealand. Dane Bergeron, good evening, Mike and Zach. Happy Independence Day Eve. Glad to have you with it. Bar Smokey, was Kucherak a big surprise? I don't know what Jay would say. It seemed to have caught some people by surprise and others maybe not.
For me personally, I'd probably say just somewhat of a surprise just because of the lack of infield depth right now. And obviously he was like one of the top ranked shortstops in the country. So for him to, depart this quickly into his LSU run was a little bit surprising to me just because I felt like some early playing time was really in the cards for him. But, now he's going to test the free agent market and see where he can land. But to me, yeah, I was a little bit surprised to see him depart the program.
Well, here's what happens with NIL and everything else going on. You've already had one player, a catcher, Neal, that wanted guarantees that he'd be a starter, and that's just not going to happen. And some kids are just not willing to wait. Mick McGrath, good evening, gentlemen. Spectrum Well Care, yes, sir. Bo Davis, yeah, he should have a real nice day tomorrow. Super chat, thank you, Alan Berry. If you had to guess, where will LSU finish in the SEC with recruiting rankings? Depending on which outlet you look at, and they're all using different formulas. One network on three's had LSU at 2 for the longest time. The others have had LSU right at 10, 11, 12, depending on the day and who's made a run and boosted their rankings. I tend to think you probably need to be somewhere in the top 4 or 5 just to keep pace. I think that's probably about where they'll be. The biggest thing in this class is you've got to get that interior defensive line right. If it's multiple 3 stars, that's fine. Certainly when you've got the athletes, the quarterback, the receiver, the running back, those guys that are always going to skew LSU's rankings high. That's one thing. But I think the biggest thing is you've already got those guys. Of course, Hankton will debate whether he's got the receivers he wants yet. But get your corners right and defensive tackles. And I think Peoples is going to have the right edge rushers. We talked about Shanklin earlier, and I think they're on their way. That's the big issue. Get the needs fixed this year. Whether they're finished third or fourth amongst the SEC teams in rankings or sixth or seventh, I don't think it matters if you don't feel the needs at tackle or corner.
I completely agree with that. I think if you land in the top three, you're just about set. But it's going about attacking the needs on the team, and that's the interior defensive line. You got to get a couple more depth pieces in the secondary. And look, obviously you're sitting with 0 defensive back commitments right now, or cornerback commitments rather. So you got to go attack positions of need, and that's going to be defensively. You got the headliners. You got Bryce Underwood. You got Harlan Berry. You got your guys. You got the number 1 wide receiver in the state in Teron Francis already committed. So you got a lot of impressive guys already in your arsenal, but it's about going out and attacking depth pieces and positions of need. And I know a lot of people want to sit back and look at the numbers and look at the recruiting rankings and the overall finishes and whatnot, but it's really about going and attacking positions of need at this point, and that's exactly what this program's going out and doing.
Yeah, and here's the other part with defensive tackles. Everybody, I don't know how many schools out there are real happy with their defensive tackle hauls every year, but if you look, typically from a year-to-year basis, certainly we talk about Jahkeem Stewart a lot for 26, but there's not a whole lot of national 100 interior defensive tackles. And then 100 to 200 or 250, similar. The numbers aren't there. A lot of people are looking for diamonds in the rough. They're looking for 3 stars that maybe are carrying bad weight. I think that's typical. Jahkeem Stewart's an outlier. How many 5-star defensive tackles are out there that are true deep 5-star guys each and every year? That's typically at the top is not very thick with high numbers.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would double down on that as well. It's so hard to evaluate the interior position, whether it's offensive line or defensive line. You rarely see guys that are like high 4 stars, 5 stars, unless it's outliers like Jahkeem Stewart. So I'm just reiterating exactly what you said because it's completely factual, and it's not necessarily about stars, it's about player development. And we're hoping to see Bo Davis do that with the guys that he's reeling in.
And by the way, what we've seen in the last 25 years at LSU is the 5-star guys a lot of times get outperformed by the 3-star guys that are either in the same class or right behind them. And so not going to say that's going to be the case with Jahkeem Stewart because I think he's an absolute beast. You got to get him. That's a cornerstone guy, particularly when it's been so thin in Louisiana. But that was going to be tough. But I like where LSU sits with him right now.
I really do too. Obviously, it's going to be USC coming into the mix too. You have a lot of heavy hitters entering his recruitment, but LSU is going to do their due diligence. That's your unicorn. That's your crown jewel. There's a lot of talk about the reclassification for Jahkeem Stewart. I'd love to get your thoughts on that. But look, whether it's the 2025 class or 2026 class, that's your crown jewel, and you're going to do anything you can to lock him down. And we've seen Bo Davis drive to New Orleans, go check out his practices, remain in touch with him, get him on campus. So Davis is doing everything he can in his power to land somebody of Jahkeem Stewart's caliber. But I'd like to get your thoughts on what you think about him potentially reclassifying.
Yeah, I mean, we asked him about that during spring. We went out and filmed him and asked him that question, and he deflected it, to someone else that's kind of been handling a lot of his recruiting. I want to say Valdez has been asked. I think he kind of does similar. Of course, Valdez, first-year head coach at St. Aug. Mm-hmm. We'll see. He wasn't eligible his first year. And so in order to reclassify, you've got to get a lot of work done, whether it be summer or however you get it done. But that would be very interesting. Do we know what his birth date is, what his current age is right now?
I couldn't tell you that, to be honest. I want to say he's 15, the young 15, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody in the chat does, but I don't.
Yeah, I tend to prefer him have another year of high school.
Right.
But I don't know for a football player how well that correlates, particularly at the line, either OL or DL. So, all right. Let's talk about our title sponsor, Pride Roofing. Let's hear from Mike and Alex.
Hi, I'm Michael with Pride Roofing.
I'm Little Alex.
Have you been affected by wind, hail, and tornadoes on the North Shore? Well, we're here to help.
Insurance claim, no problem.
We also have a new franchise location in New Orleans.
We don't build projects, we build memories.
Though you know Pride Roofing is the official roofer of TigerBait.com.
In fact, notify TigerBait and we'll give you a free roof inspection. And on top of that, you get a free year subscription. Remember to call us at 855-PRIDE-16.
There you go. Give them a call, 855-PRIDE-16. Say TigerBait when you call for your free roof inspection, and they're going to pay for it. You have TigerBait Premium free for a year. A couple of guys got that deal last week. And look, knock on wood, we're seeing a lot of bad weather out there and some really bad hurricane season predicted. Keep Pride Roofing in mind if you have any issues. Hopefully you don't need them, but whether you've got an older roof, commercial or residential, give them a call, 855-PRIDE-16. Baton Rouge, North Shore, New Orleans, Houma, anywhere in South Louisiana, they've got you covered. All right, let's dive into some more questions. John Sibley Butler says, hello, Mick, go Tigers. All right, let's go up here. Yeah, Chance Babin, the women's basketball team is going to Croatia and Greece. Spectrum Well Care, here we go. You ready to discuss this one, Zach?
You can.
Corey Raymond needs to step it up.
You can take that one.
Yes,
first.
he does. The great Corey Raymond. He does need to step it up, Zach. I'm going to go ahead and say it.
Look, it's been a tough stretch so far with the cornerbacks recruiting right now. Obviously, losing Antoine's commitment is tough, but I firmly believe that they'll get him back in the mix by the time early signing day comes in December. Losing his commitment is tough, but at the end of the day, this new age of recruitment is you want to field all the NIL packages that you can receive, and he took visits to Miami, Florida State. Look, he's been wined and dined by the top programs in the country. So he's kind of just fielding offers is what I would appear it looks like, and I really would expect LSU to get his services by the time it's all said and done, but that was a tough loss. And then all focus now would also shift to DJ Pickett, the number one cornerback in the country, a 5-star out of Florida. This is a guy that really, really you have to try to lock down. This is a guy that a lot of LSU faithful is going to be hoping that he could secure. So does Corey Raymond need to step it up? I think everybody would think that, yes, he does need to step it up, but there's still time here to try to lock down a couple more guys. And Mike's a little bit more passionate on that subject than me, so I'll let him take it over.
Well, and are you confident on LSU landing Pickett?
At this point in time, I'd probably go with – I don't think so. I think this is going to be one that goes all the way down to the early signing period. Even if they don't get his commitment now, he's going to be a guy that you're going to have to get on campus for a game day visit in the next couple of months. So at this point in time, I would probably steer towards the probably saying no for right now. I won't beat around the bush. Probably no.
Yeah, and even then, by the way, there's still a debate to be had whether he's a corner or a safety.
But he fits that prototypical Corey Raymond like cornerback style. He's long, lanky, tall. He's a huge cornerback. Obviously, he's going to live in the weight room in his first offseason and his first season of college football. He needs to put on significant size. But the intangibles that he has and the traits that he has are incredible. Whether you want to put him at cornerback or safety, he's a guy who he's a must-get for this program. And Corey Raymond's going to do everything he can to lock him down. You've already seen him really bring Patrick Peterson into the mix for his first official visit. You've seen them really get wine and dine, roll out the red carpet. Anything you want to say, all the cliches, he's done that. Now it's going to be can the NIL factor, can LSU step up in that factor, and we're going to really see over the next couple of weeks.
Well, I'll just say you can't give Corey Raymond credit for landing Jabari Antoine when he first got here because it was actually Frank Wilson. But when he decommits because he wasn't feeling the love and he wasn't stayed on top of when he's going to Miami and Florida State for visits, you got a problem. And so I think you're right that there's a good possibility or probability that he could end up back with LSU and signed at the end when it's all said and done. But it was not a good look a couple of weeks ago. And particularly it's such a sore position of need. And,
There's so much that we could say about Antoine's recruitment just because Brian Kelly's proven that he can build a wall around the state, dominate the recruiting realm as a whole, and then you have such a position of need in the cornerback room. So it's kind of like it's a kill shot in a couple of ways by seeing him decommit. You lose an in-state guy who's at a position of need. But look, like I said, not to contradict myself, but I really do think
we got folks out there trying to point the finger at other staffers.
Yeah, and that's a complete fact.
That's bull crap.
I won't disagree with that at all.
So there you go.
Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Because we were talking about this before. Like Mike and I have talked about just how big of a position to need the cornerback room is, and just Corey Raymond does need to step it up. It's something that we've spoken about before, and with no guys committed to this point in time, it's such a point of emphasis. So we'll see what happens in the near future.
Yeah. Look, it'll be all good. Of course, just last week offered Aiden Anding from Ruston, and he's a 6 foot, 170 pound corner. A lot of schools liking him. LSU, Miami, Texas, TCU, Arkansas, all with visits. A lot of people were thinking he was a Texas lean. LSU comes in with an offer. What does that offer tell you?
I think it would point in the direction of a lot of people sitting back and saying it's a desperation offer, which to me is just – I'm not going to say that's not a – I don't like that statement that much just because Anding is such a talented player, and I don't want people to look at it as kind of like a last resort type of player because he's so talented. And yes, he was a Texas lean, and a lot of people thought he was going to commit to Texas in the next couple of days, and they offered him the day before. So it's a really big offer, and I think he's a really impressive guy, and his numbers are really, really impressive as well. But I just don't want people to sit back and think that it's a desperation offer because he's just so talented and would be such an impressive get to get in the 2025 class.
Well, and here's the other part of it. There's safety in numbers, right? When you see, look, I can make a case that LSU should probably not venture north of a certain latitude. Or is it longitude? Help me out. Latitude? You shouldn't. There's a certain area where when you start getting north of Tennessee, I could maybe say avoid Tennessee altogether. Look at the bus that's come from that state, Maryland, etc. Stay in the South. Okay, I'd rather take a 3-star cornerback from Ruston, Louisiana, than take a 4-star kid from Las Vegas, Nevada.
Let me just say, I completely agree with that. Just because the talent here is just so rich, and a lot of these guys want to venture back closer to home. And you were kind of alluding to the Jeremiah Hughes on that right now. So, which is weird because he ended up going back.
And by the way, I like Jeremiah Hughes. I like him.
But yeah, I agree with what you're saying wholeheartedly. It's all about staying in your southern region recruiting realm, and they've proven to be so dominant with that. So it's important to stay, like you said, a little bit below Tennessee and work from there. And that's kind of where your bread and butter is at. So there's no need to venture nationally unless you're going after a unicorn like Bryce Underwood. But yeah, it's strength in numbers, and you have some pretty impressive guys in Bayou State.
Yeah, recruit 3 or 4 from Mississippi hard, Louisiana, Texas, certainly Florida, Georgia. Dive deeper into South Alabama again, which they're working to do that. Of course, kid from Mobile got away, but it's that's where you need to be, and then go up to Michigan and get your quarterback,
and then you get your unicorn. Exactly.
All right, I'll tell you what. I'm really excited about a new sponsor, and I'm going to talk about it on the other side. But let's hear from Genesis of Lafayette.
Got a brand new attitude, like bing bang boom on a pink balloon, like I just do what I want to do, like ooh, brand new.
I'm real excited about Genesis of Lafayette being a new sponsor of TigerBait Live, and they're going to be a part of TigerBait in a big way going forward. I always enjoy it when our sponsors are some people I know, people I've patronized, and this is a great story. The missus has been looking for an SUV for quite some time. We were 6-8 months trying to find the right one, knew what she wanted. Locally, they wouldn't order it, claimed they couldn't order it, tried everywhere else, couldn't find it. Made one phone call to Blake Mesh at Genesis of Lafayette, and within 2 weeks, they went all the way to Key West, Florida, and found her one exactly how she wanted. The deal was done, and she's happy as can be. As someone who's been a part of many transactions buying vehicles for family and so forth, it was the best experience I've ever had buying a vehicle, and what a fine car it is as well. If you haven't seen a Genesis, whether it's their sedans or SUVs, there's no better interior. The price points of these are killing the luxury market, all their competition. Do yourself a favor, go to Genesis of Lafayette, take a test drive, and they'll bend over backwards. And it don't matter where you're at in Louisiana, they'll actually deliver the car to your parking lot, to your driveway, and you don't even have to go to Lafayette. Best experience ever. Genesis of Lafayette, big LSU fans, and love those folks over there. And tell them you heard about them on TigerBait. All right, let's dive into some more of these. Yeah, Bart asked, I think you hit that earlier, what positions does Jay need to concentrate on now?
Yeah, that for the most part, you're going to be trying to lock down some infield guys, shortstop, third base. I think those are points of emphasis right now. And then you look at catcher too. Try to add some depth in that area. You have some players who can play there, but it's all about getting some consistent guys right there, and then your left-handed pitchers. So that's probably my 4 position groups that I'm really looking to, and that's shortstop, third base, catcher, and left-handed pitching. And then add some consistent hitting to the lineup, and I think you're set. It's going to be a really impressive roster.
Barry Barbier, D1 Baseball is the only team that has appeared by all 8 riders in the wave too early 8 for Omaha. That's LSU is the only team? Is that what he's saying?
Yep.
They're going to be really good. A&M's going to be really good again, man.
A&M's going to be solid. Just returning all those guys is so key, and it seems like the culture is starting to build within that program. So I'm excited to see what they do. Obviously, there's always people have stuff to say about in-house hires. We'll see what happens there, but the talent speaks for itself.
By the way, I'm going to ask you this, and I'd like for folks in the chat to reply and give their opinion. Were you shocked last week when it seemed like in the cover of darkness, Beth Torina got a 2-year extension?
You know, I know that stirred a lot of controversy for a lot of people. I wasn't an avid LSU softball watcher this year, so I'm not sure about the whole, ins and outs of that extension and what a lot of people were saying on the positive side. But I did see a lot of negative, a lot of controversy about that. You got a little bit more about that? What do you think?
Yeah, I'm just I could see both sides of it. I can see where if you're an LSU athletic department official, where you're like, okay, if we did make a move on Beth Torina a year from now, who would you go get? Who could you get? The SEC is clearly the best league for softball, but it's also going to get tougher with Oklahoma and Texas coming into the league. You're getting seeded 8th, 9th for SEC tournament, but being seeded 8th or 9th in the SEC tournament also means you're a top 15 national team. I can't imagine cutting loose a super regional team. That would have been foolish this year. But now you've given a 2-year extension when she had 1 year left. And, if they finish in the bottom third of the league next year, which I think is possible, you're going to sit there and say, well, she just got 2 years and they're not going to pay. Now you're going to be able to say they're not going to pay $1 million to buy out a softball coach. Oh, and she's got a great recruiting class and they're young again, which is a rinse, lather, repeat on LSU softball.
Yeah, no, I hear that. There's no need for me to even elaborate on that because that's just what the outside buzz has been saying and what I've seen as well. And hearing you say that too kind of just doubles down on that fact.
It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I mean, but that wasn't even anything anybody was discussing but there you go. All right, let me scroll up and get to some more of these comments. Jared Guillory, LSU might get Jabari back, but out-of-state Pickett looks to be another lose. Tired of losing these out-of-state battles.
That just goes back to what you were saying earlier. That just kind of sticking to your region and the recruiting region, and locking down the guys in the Bayou State. And Antoine's going to be your top guy for right now. If you lose somebody like Pickett, yes, that's a massive loss. But to Mike was saying, a lot of people would rather have, let's say, a 3-star from Louisiana than, let's say, a 4-star from another state. Pickett's obviously an outlier. This is a 5-star. He's a unicorn. This is a guy who can play safety, cornerback. He's a phenomenal defensive back. So to not land him would be brutal. But there's a lot of other guys that you can try to target as well. And Mike was alluding to that earlier.
Well, but it's not just one guy. To me, it's the same for Corey as it is for Bo Davis. It's a numbers thing. There's
Right.
safety in numbers. Get as many guys, and look, there's debates in there, and each coach fights for their position. I need this many guys in the building, et cetera, et cetera. Interior defensive line needs to be rebuilt. Cornerback position needs to be rebuilt for a large part. Got some youth there, PJ Woodland, et cetera. Jawan Johnson looking at, except, but whether it's a couple of threes, 2 threes and a 4, I'd rather have multiple guys that can come in and have someone make a move and be the next, 3-star kid who's a future first-round draft pick because you either developed him or he had a growth spurt or he was flying under the radar. You did a good job of evaluation and you caught everybody else napping. But there's safeties in numbers. That's why I think LSU's safety position is looking so much better, is because you've got so many bodies there to make a go of it, on top of the guys that you think are going to be real stars of the future.
While we're sitting here talking about the cornerback room, I want to get your thoughts on Javian Toviano. Where do you think his true bread and butter is, Mike? Where do you think he's going to kind of hit that groove? I know right now he's kind of a tweener. A lot of people are saying, and he's a guy who's kind of fallen down that cornerback depth chart with PJ Woodland emerging. Where do you kind of see him just getting on the field and making an impact for LSU?
Well, is it nickel? Is it how many DBs are on the field and where does he line up?
That's I just don't know.
What's the down and distance? What package? That's a part of also what is Blake Baker going to do to disguise issues with the defensive front. We can talk about 3-3-5 and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we might have a mental picture of what we're going to see, but until we see it, I think there's going to be some surprises in game 1.
I agree with that too. I just know a lot of the chatter has been talking about Javian Toviano just kind of falling down that depth chart. And look, yes, he's falling down the depth chart, but the emergence of PJ Woodland has also been somewhat of a bright spot. I know a lot of people, and I know, by the way, we're shifting a little bit off topic here with recruiting, but for PJ Woodland, this is a guy who's flying up the depth chart, and they've been really impressed with what he's doing. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on Javian Toviano as a whole.
Yeah. Look, there's places for him. Bart Smoking, she needs to fix her hitting. No power at all. Talking about Beth Torino. And that's been the case throughout all these years. She doesn't like the big softball player. She I think she's done a little bit better job of that, but there's always a lot of slappers. S. Young, if we don't get any elite DBs, it's on Raymond. I think, look, there's a big emphasis across the staff to get that defense right. Obviously, when you look at LSU, it's offensive heavy, personnel wise. It's been that way. Been operating the last few years, kind of like Oklahoma State teams under Gundy. I joked with an LSU assistant about a couple months ago. If you're going to roster's going to be built like Oklahoma State, maybe Brian Kelly needs to grow a mullet like Gundy. But look, they're all hands on deck. I think if you're a quarterback's coach or whatever, I think they're all making sure that Bo Davis gets the help he needs and helping him recruit his position. Corey the same. You've got all the guys in the building, Sherman, etc. Bobby, they're all chipping in to try and make a go of it and get those positions fixed. Because look, I ain't got to tell anybody here anything they don't already know. It's been too many years where LSU's defense has been embarrassing, and it's. I mean, I asked someone today, but besides the Alabama game, when is the LSU team playing a complete game on all phases of football?
I don't even know if I could tell you, just because the struggles on defense have been just significant over the last couple of years. I couldn't even answer that question.
I think people are I'm not saying they want to go back to 9-6 football games, but they want LSU defenses to look like they did 15 years ago.
It's going to take time. It's going to take time.
All right, let's scroll up here. Corey Rogers, base case scenario is that Moore recommits. They get Pickett and get Jabari to recommit. Won't happen, though. They probably aren't getting any of the above.
Honestly, like the Corey and Moore subject line is it's going to be tough for LSU to get in the mix there. That looks like it's just about out of the cards. It seems like it's going to be a battle between Texas and Oregon down the stretch. Obviously, he's going to make his announcement tomorrow, but this is going to be a guy who goes all the way to the early signing period, like I was kind of hinting at earlier. When you look at somebody like Antoine, or Jabari Antoine, I really think that's a guy that ultimately lands in this 2025 class when it's all said and done. He's impressive. He's the top cornerback in the state, and I think you're going to see Corey Raymond and this entire staff swing for the fences here. This isn't a guy that they're willing to just get away. So I think you're going to see them match NIL packages, match early opportunities to get on the field, and do anything they can to get him in Baton Rouge. And if you ask me personally, I would definitely say that Antoine ends up in this 2025 class. But when you look at those blue chip 5 stars and DeCorian Moore and DJ Pickett, it's just tough to try to land guys like that, because it's that out-of-state top-tier talent where every single program in America is just dropping insane money. Those are turning into NIL recruitments, and it's tough to spread your money out so far. So it's going to be a challenge to land all 3 of those, Corey. But look, if you can get Antoine in the mix, it's a big win, and then you chip away at the other 2 until early signing day and see what happens. But it certainly would be a major, major challenge to get all 3.
Also, we haven't discussed it, but next Saturday, not this Saturday, but next Saturday, the 13th, Destrehan's Jace Thomas, 3-star safety athlete, 6'1", 180-ish, is going to announce his commitment. And that's another one that prediction LSU. Is that what you're going with?
I certainly think LSU's in the lead for him right now. You're gonna have another couple of programs swing for the fences for him, but I think if you were to ask me, I think LSU's in the lead here. And place a prediction, I certainly would believe LSU lands his services.
That's where I'm at as well. Yeah, here we go. I have. Have you seen the 2 sophomore quarterbacks in the Shreveport area, Malachi Ziegler from Benton and the kid at Evangel? Are they future D1 kids? I think they are, and I really like Ziegler. The LSU coaching staff was really on him a couple of weeks ago. Got to see him, film him, and I really man, Zach, it's one of these deals. I know you go out during the high school football season, but man, when you start, especially at TigerBait, when we try to film all these guys, there's a whole lot of work we got to do in North Louisiana, and it's hard to get those guys.
The talent level is just stacking up so significantly up there right now. But continue.
If anybody's listening and they have a really nice video camera and they'd like to be an intern for TigerBait, shoot me an email. I'm looking for folks in North Louisiana. But it's Benton, Oak Grove, and I mean, it's one stretch to the next. Monroe, Ruston, Loaded, and on and on. It's crazy up in North Louisiana. They've got some really good football players. I really like Ziegler, and that's the question, isn't it, Zach? 27 quarterbacks. Joe Sloan's got some. This could be. I'm not going to say it's be political, but there's some pressure points here because you've got multiple class of 27 quarterbacks in Louisiana.
You do.
So
keep going.
Who gets the offer?
See, that's the tough question for me because there's so many signal callers that you could go with, and the likelihood that you get a dominant 2026 guy is slim to none just because you have your crown jewel in Bryce Underwood already in 2025. But man, looking at that 2027 class, you got some dogs in Louisiana, and obviously nationally, you could go wherever and try to pick somebody. But man, in state, you got your guys. Who are you gonna go with? Who do you think they land?
Well, it's like you see Ziegler and Elijah Haven right here in Baton Rouge, Dunham, super kid.
Haven's been a guy that you've been on for quite some time now. You've been filming him for a while. That's a guy you've talked to me about for a while too.
Yeah, and Matt Flynn's working with him and interviewed Matt 6 weeks ago or so, whenever that was, and I noticed it immediately. He's got some sort of flick thing and is released from the way he released the football that they're working on. But you want to talk about a kid who's highly intelligent, athletic. The way he looks is a 14, 15-year-old. There's a lot working there. But Ziegler's just as impressive, and he's had other 27 kids that are phenomenal come in from out of state. I really like the kid from Alabama that was there a couple of weeks ago for Friday Night Lights. Alabaster, Alabama, the class of 27 quarterback.
Seaburn.
Yeah. I mean, he's 6'1", maybe. That kid was
dominant.
just.
I think he won a state
was just as impressive. He was just as impressive on his throws as Underwood. So he's got all the, everybody's offered him already. But Sloan hasn't started dealing out 27 offers yet, has he?
He hasn't, but look, he's going to have options. He's going to have a phenomenal number of guys that he can attack in state. Him and Frank Wilson could lock that down, or go nationally and try to find somebody, or go right down the road to Alabama and try to lock somebody in over there. But he's going to have a lot of options to pick from, and it's going to be exciting to see.
Yep. Yeah. That's one thing that he has done. We've seen some spurts here and there, and I think Sloan is very similar to Brad Davis, and that the caliber and the numbers of players at their positions that they coach and recruit, the quality that has been there since they've arrived. And
I would double down on that too. You saw exactly what Joe Sloan did already in the 2026 class this summer. Obviously hasn't locked anybody down, but he's doing his due diligence. You got 3 of the top 10 quarterbacks in the country to come in for official visits, and Diabell, Brady Hart, and also Faison Brandon. You already saw Brady Hart and Diabell pop to other programs, but just the fact of the matter is getting them on campus is a super, super accomplishment, just because you have your crown jewel in the 2025 class. So to even pique their interest is impressive. And now you're going to maybe get somebody a little bit under the radar in the 2026 class, but you shift focus to 2027. And like you said, Mike, there's a ton of talent that you can choose from across the country, in Louisiana, wherever you want.
He's done it consistently for 3 years. We saw an incredible summer before the 2019 summer.
Yep.
With Joe Brady in that camp, that was insane that June, the quarterbacks that were there. But Sloan has done it for 3 years. And it's whether they're coming on campus to camp, to work at camp, unofficial visits, official visits, swinging by for a half a day as they drive through, whatever it is. He's gotten national quarterbacks that come from all over the country to come in, and it's impressive. And like you said, he did his due diligence. I was probably a little bit more thinking that he might pull a great 26 kid more than other people, but it's not necessarily that he does. So 27 is going to be big.
Yeah,
and then we're going to see we're going to see how things shake out with the current team. There's going to be some movement, I think, next spring. All right, let's dive into some more here, and then we'll get out of here on the eve of the 4th of July. Ash Young, LSU should lean on their former elite DBs to contribute to NIL instead of just showing up on recruiting visits. Their collective contributions will make a huge difference. I think there could very well be some of that. I'm not being sly or suggesting that there is, but I do think that there's a lot of people who are involved either in the collective or the NIL space that you don't even know that they are, just because they don't want any promotion of it. And I think that probably really goes big for former athletes. You can imagine some of the big contracts we've seen former LSU Tigers sign. They've got everybody pulling on them, and a lot of those guys don't want that stuff publicized. Here we go. Hal Jubin. Mike, what's the update on men's basketball team or 2025? I thought you said you had something. Yeah, it's not a whole lot of much of anything. Obviously, last week, LSU hosted a couple of 4 stars. You had Nick Lewis from Gonzaga High School, point guard. You had the shooting guard, King Grace, from Waxahachie, Texas. He was there for a couple of days as well. What I do know is that both those visits went very well. But other than that, I think they're kind of tight-lipped. I think it seems like they're probably like the women's team. Their roster is set unless Zach's got something different. Are they going to sneak somebody in?
My answer would be no. Not to cut you off, but I think those rosters are set in stone for now. But looking forward, they've been the men's basketball program's been hosting a couple of blue chips. They've been having a really productive summer. I'm really excited for what Matt McMahon and them can do because now he's starting to have the opportunity to build relationships with guys over time. And I think that 2025 recruiting class is going to be one that kind of breaks you into another realm. It is what I'm really hoping for. They're excited about it, and I know a lot of LSU fans are about to be as well.
I say it every week. Senac is the pivotal guy, and he's transferred up to Branson, Missouri. But was it Cam Thomas comes from that school?
Cam Thomas from Oakville. I think he just transferred to Link. Link Academy is relatively new, but they're super, super talented.
Or is it the staff is it the staff that's at that school that they're familiar with? There's some relationships there.
That might be what it is. But man, when was the last time Louisiana's had a player of Senac's caliber roll through here? Like I really couldn't even tell you unless you can name somebody for me.
Yeah, you got to get him. That's imperative. And he's also a guy I can tell you that they would love for him to get it done as soon as possible because he would be a draw for other players. Devin Johnson, super chat. Thank you. All I know is I'm ready to see defense put fear in teams. I know it's 2+ years away. Mark my words. If we lose to USC, things will go downhill. Devin, man, you're absolutely right. Talking to another media guy the other day, I said, man, it is not going to be pretty if LSU lose that opener to USC. Whether it's our post-game show, message boards, Twitter, wherever, it's you're going to be in a hole that you got to dig yourself out of, and I think it's going to show that it's going to be difficult to meet expectations. You win that game, and the table's set for you because the schedule. If you win that game, it gives you time to get even better and build upon it. And then we'll see if LSU is right there on the edge. And does it come down to the last game, Oklahoma, whether you're a playoff team, or is that deciding whether you're 9-3 or 10-2, or is it 8-4 versus 9-3? Right?
I would completely agree with that. I think this USC game it's not necessarily make or break to kick off the year, but look, you're setting yourself up for a very, very challenging 2024 season if you drop that game in Vegas. You win that game, and look, man, I'm just reiterating what you said. You win that game, and you set yourself up beautifully. You kind of put your season on a silver platter and work from there. So, yeah, that week 1 matchup is going to be extremely telling, and we know LSU's kind of struggled for the most part in season openers. So now you have an opportunity to flip the script, change the narrative, and see what you can do against a firepower offense in USC. So, yeah, that's one that we don't want to see it go downhill from there.
To say nothing of the fact of the tens of thousands of LSU fans that are heading down there at thousands and thousands of dollars. So thousands and thousands of dollars just to get there between air, hotel, taxes. We're not even talking about if someone loses a lot gambling.
Yeah, no.
You lose
That's an expensive trip. You're going to see LSU fans be extremely, extremely upset if they drop that game.
So, someone's going to say, not only did I drop $12,000 in Las Vegas, but LSU lost their 5th straight opener.
Yep.
Thank you for that, Devin. Thank you for that. Brandon Greer with a super chat, 1999. Thank you, Mike. How much do you expect Don McKinley and Colin playing time they get? I'll let you get to that, Zach.
For McKinley, Dominic McKinley, that's like I said, I've used the term crown jewel maybe too many times in this one podcast, but Dominic McKinley is your guy. I expect him to step in a big way this season. I don't know if you insert him as a starter for the week 1 against USC if we want to sit there and hone in on that game. But I think towards the back end of the season, McKinley's going to be a guy that you fall back on. Your interior defensive line is just so dang thin that you're going to have to try to fall back on somebody. And if it's your true freshman, then so be it. But Dominic McKinley is a force to be reckoned with. I put something out on Twitter the other day just saying, he arrived, he finished his senior season at around that 275, 285-pound range. He's already bulked up to around 315. So this is a 6'6", 315-pound menace. And I think as he continues to polish his technique, he's a guy that Bo Davis is going to fall back on in year 1. So I would expect some early playing time for McKinley. And I wouldn't say impactful snaps early to start the season, but I think towards the back end of the season in SEC play, Dominic McKinley is going to be a guy that you fall back on in a big way.
I do like the images that I've seen of him early out there. He's obviously put in the work. I mean, you love to be in a situation where you didn't have to use him this year, but I think he's going to play, and we'll see.
Well,
how much that is, I don't know. I don't. I mean, should we expect to see him play 6 or 8 reps against USC?
No. See, I don't think I could expect him to come out this early, just because the transition from high school to SEC ball at the interior defensive line position is just so challenging. And then you throw him under the bright lights in Vegas against USC. I just couldn't imagine that. But to redshirt him this season would be so good for his career. If a lot of people would think it's a mixed bag. Obviously, in one hand, you want to say get the experience and see what you can do from there. But the other hand would tell me to learn from somebody like Jacoby and Guillory, get a season under your belt of Bo Davis. So it's a mixed bag of what I would want from Dominic McKinley, but I would expect him to get significant playing time towards the end of the 2024 season, just because they're going to want to utilize his talents.
Here's the thing, and you may disagree. I know he had a 5-star ranking by some. I had him as a 4. I think rawness-wise, he's no different than where Savion Jones was coming out of St. James, or Quincy Wiggins coming out of Madison Prep. Maybe is he in between them? Does he move quicker and progress quicker than those guys do? Maybe it's possible. But I always felt he needed at least a year, a redshirt year, and then it might take 2 years. But I sure like the way he looks physically right now. He's put in the work. But we'll see. That's what Bo Davis' job is. That's why you brought him in. All right, Brandon, thank you for that. All right, I got one more bill to pay, and it's Alumni Hall. And folks, you got to get over to Alumni Hall, Perkins Road, beautiful store, and they've got everything for you. They've got all the gear. Use the code TigerBait at the register. They've got Nike, Peter Millar, the works, and alumnihall.com/LSU. All the newest products have arrived. And you can earn cash back. You can use their Hall Rewards program. And if there's an LSU logo on it, they've got it. The best polos, all the stuff that the coaches are going to be wearing this upcoming football season has started to arrive. They've got new hats. No other place in Baton Rouge has better LSU gear than Alumni Hall. Go check them out. Perkins Road, corner Bluebonnet in Perkins Road, or online at alumnihall.com. And use the code TigerBait, and you're going to get 10% off your order. And they're in the NIL space. They give back to LSU players, and nobody does it better than those folks over at Alumni Hall. Anything you want to add on the way out? I think we pretty much covered everything tonight.
Yeah, this is a jam-packed show. We got a lot done. All I can say is get ready for a really, really busy next 48 hours on the recruiting front for LSU football. I think LSU fans are going to be really happy with the work that's being done, especially in the trenches with the defensive line. So we be on the lookout for Mike's website. He's about to do a lot of big stuff with the recruiting front. As always on LSU Country, we're going to be doing the exact same thing with some recruiting stuff as well. So stay tuned because it's going to be a busy next 48 hours, what I would like to say.
Yeah, you guys go give Zach a follow on X at ZNaggy20. And he's kicking out a lot of stuff. We will as well. And it's going to be a busy 4th of July and 5th. So, I've been saying LSU's been sitting at a dozen commitments for a while, and usually they're at 20. I mean, are we about to have a flurry where I didn't think they were going to get there. Are we going to be – am I going to be eating some crow because they're actually going to be near 20 Labor Day?
They're going to be getting a good bit. They're going to be pretty close to that 20 mark if they're not there by Labor Day. I'd like to say at least 5 in the month of July and see what happens in August. So, yeah, I'd like to say we're going to be getting close to that 20 range very, very soon. Absolutely.
Also, if you're subscribed to TigerBait, if you haven't signed up for our text alerts, as those commitments start to happen tomorrow, either way, I'm going to shoot out text alerts. So if you're out on a raft somewhere or skiing, check your phone. You don't have to be following it. You'll get a text alert to your phone letting you know either way how these guys went down. And so I hope everybody has a great 4th of July. Stay safe on the highways. And thanks to Zach for being with us tonight. We'll do it again next Wednesday night.
Appreciate it as always, Mike.
All right. Good night, everybody.